It's just warming. Hi, thanks to everyone for attending the UMIP review community call. We've got 4 pull requests to consider today. There were 6 pull requests made in time for the deadline. 2 of them were resubmissions, and there's ongoing discussions between the team and the partners. So these are kind of works in progress, so we won't consider them this week. The ones that we're considering are 399, 424, 426, and 427. I'm just going to share my screen. So the first one to look at is 399, which is create a UMIP for USBAC 5 perpetual. We had some discussion on this previously, and there's been quite a few comments left on the UMIP itself. This is a redesign from a previously submitted one. I see that SX App, who presumably is from the team, has responded to the comments here. Chandler, Rainis, have either of you had any more involvement with this and could speak to it?
Before we jump into the comments of that, I believe the team that submitted this is on the call. Just maybe a quick introduction on what you are wanting to use these price identifiers for.
That would be excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. Hello, guys. Hello.
Hi.
Yeah. So the general idea would be to create a synthetic based on UMIP protocol, like a perpetual fund that is tracking 5 assets that are basically SPACs, so special purpose acquisition companies. We have these prices, so these are a kind of market-based would be the 5 of these assets in the equal weights. So basically, 5 of them tracked via the external API. They are issued with the collateral based on USDC stablecoin. So we think that perpetual contract is very important to use because the liquidity of these instruments is of great importance. So if we have longer periods of these assets being traded on the market, it will gain more liquidity. So that's why we hope to implement a perpetual contract to prolong the kind of longevity of these assets on the market. So the general idea was to represent an asset that would track 5 assets from special purpose acquisition companies market. And we think that that might not be considered a security in that sense, with users being able to issue that. And we want to create a special vehicle for incentivizing sponsors who put the collateral inside the contract and issue that asset on the market. So that was kind of our general idea. And we hope to bring more assets from the traditional kind of provide the vehicle for users to utilize UMA protocol to kind of put these into DeFi.
Thank you very much for that. I actually just had a quick question on, we've chatted about you using the perpetual contract type before, and in our last conversation, we mentioned that UMIP doesn't actually support we don't actually support a perpetual contract type at the moment natively. Do you have a design pattern that you're going to be using for your perpetual type contract?
Yes, that's correct. We actually seen some other projects that are trying to utilize the contracts of UMA, and we hope we can implement some mechanics and maybe get your support on the further stages as you develop and as you implement more of this contract in mainnet.
Okay, so we do have a perpetual contract type that we've been working on, but it is not. We do not want to actually use that in mainnet. We find that we need some more time to develop some of the elements that it works on. The main takeaway from us is that to update and propose prices is infeasible for a contract type on mainnet at the moment, and we need to rework how we actually implement that, which will take a little bit of extra development time. So the main takeaway is that currently there are no live or actively traded perpetual contracts on UMIP at the moment, and we don't expect to launch any in the near future. But what we can do is, if you as a team would like to generate your own perpetual type contract, that's something that we're willing to help out with and work with you to make sure we can implement something like that. But the contract development will have to come from your team side on that.
Can we use the development, like can we use the source of your perpetual contract as a base for creating our own?
Yeah, so the contract types that we use is open source, but we don't think that what we created initially works well in Ethereum at the moment. So you can use that as a starting foundation and then modify it from there. Yeah, it's open source, so naturally you can.
Okay. I think that we've seen some projects utilizing the perpetual contract. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe these were just an attempt.
Yeah, so we had a live test where UMIP
Yeah.
launched an Ethereum Bitcoin perpetual contract as a live test to see how it would trade. We didn't advertise it. It was very much internal for the team to kind of gather data on how the perpetual works and use that data to figure out if our design methodology was optimal. And we decided after our first trial that it wasn't, and then we needed to rework some of the funding rate mechanics.
Okay.
So the contract that you might have observed was our own internal testing contract.
Okay. I see. The GL knows in our own contract on this contract that you have called perpetual, and basically how it works in such a contract.
Sorry, I'm not sure if it was my internet, but I didn't actually quite catch what you said.
Yeah, I said, so you would propose that we create our own contract based on the perpetual contract of UMA, basically rethinking the way the funding rate works for this contract. Is that correct?
Yeah, we can share some details as to why we don't think it works, and you can take that on and see if you have a better design mechanism, and you're more than welcome to implement it yourself. Yeah.
Okay, so how can you share that? Do you have a pull request somewhere, or was it your kind of internal discussions about this?
I don't actually know if our perpetual repo is public. I'm almost certain we've made it private, just to not just incentivize other people using it. I'll Yeah, I need to think. I need to think of where like we have the write up for it, just to kind of give.
Okay.
Yeah, and we can share some resources around what we've done in the past.
Okay. Okay. Sounds great.
I think, yeah, this is a bit of a bigger discussion and a specific one with the DevX team that's needing to happen. There was problems with the price feed configuration that and also the method for calling the IPFS address, which are blockers for it immediately going forward to a governance vote. In terms of using the perpetual, it's not recommended at the minute because certain things aren't optimized. But maybe that can all feed into a larger conversation that you can have with the DevX team like Rainis and Chandler and Sean. Does that seem like a way ahead?
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe.
Just on that, probably also highlight what the specific issues were with the price feed implementation. Brandis, do you want to maybe actually mention your feedback on that?
Yes, it also like together with new price identifier, and here we have two of them. They in order to make and support any users liquidity in automated way, there should be a bot infrastructure running who are proposing and or disputing price requests for these contracts. And not normally for other contracts, especially the ones which have any financial contracts, there are price feed implementations that allow bot infrastructure to handle them automatically. So do you have any designs in mind for that, how to automate this process, or you also welcome to use any infrastructure that's available also with UMA repository? We have quite a few price feed implementations for other use cases, and if it's possible to also open the pull request for your particular price feed source, that I think would be great and would make sure we are able to automate this.
Well, our development team actually looked at the bot repository of UMA. So we found some possible implementations of such a price feed. So kind of our developer reported that he didn't have any problem with setting a price feed with external API. So basically, we just feel that we need to figure out the timing. So we need to make some triggers when to propose a new price at what particular time. Would the price of an external source would be different from on like Uniswap protocol, for example, if our synthetic would be traded there. So the general idea is kind of track both prices from the external feed and basically check the price on the Uniswap as an internal is an internal market. So the general idea would be to propose a funded rate that would incentivize to create the external price on external markets on the data feed and the price in the Uniswap. So kind of that was our general idea. And the dispute bot would monitor if there's not enough collateral for that synthetic at the current price. So would initiate a dispute if the price is kind of getting too much, like a bit closer to liquidation.
Technically, I think it's liquidation bot that should be checking the collateral,
Yeah.
and the dispute bot is the one who checks whether or not proposed like liquidation is valid or not. But overall, sure. For this particular price identifier, will you be able also to open a pull request or on our repository, or you have your own price feed implementation?
I think I think we have our own repository on the GitHub, but we can also create a pull request if that's needed.
Yeah, because one of the things that also when voting on the particular price identifier, we need to make sure that the bots work as intended, and that the users can like feel safe that there will be bot infrastructure available that's able to check the prices. That's like critical part of that.
I think we'll publish that. We'll publish that on the UMA repository. Yeah. Okay.
Good. And one
does the price feed not need to go in the UMIP, Renas?
Sorry?
Does the price feed not need to go directly into the UMIP?
Yes, it's price feed implementation. When it's opened and reviewed, then of course, that's also being linked to UMIP itself. But, currently, we don't have it yet, but sure, afterwards it should be added. And one more minor issue I didn't quite understood where this IPFS link goes in the contract, how that's specified.
Well, the general idea would be kind of submitting a price from 5 data feeds and basically calculating within a JSON file the external price of the index that we're tracking. So we are getting the data of 5 assets from different sources, and using the JSON file deployed in the IPFS, we basically calculate the external price using the index formula.
Yes, but the address of this JSON file on IPFS, where is that located? How users should get it?
It's not deployed yet, so it's not deployed. Once we agree on the particular sparks and we deploy the contract, or we basically will deploy the JSON file that will kind of hold the structure of your formula of getting the index price, and we'll publish that on the GitHub.
Okay, but that will be fixed for all of the contracts using this, or each contract might have its own link.
Yeah, each contract will have its own link with the IPFS JSON.
Okay, and the contract, you mean the contract that holds user funds, or?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, so in that case, you might need to add which particular method on the contract needs to be called so that voters can check where to find this address.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool, thanks for that. I think a bigger discussion with the team about these issues in general would be really useful. And I'm sure that the DevEx can set up a specific discussion around that very soon.
Okay, looking forward.
Yeah, just on that, Mike, you mentioned you were chatting with Sean around the details. We can either talk about the next steps on that chat with Sean, or we can set up a call during the course of this week just to touch base.
Excellent. The next one that we have up for consideration is a collateral omnibus UMIP. I added a few comments literally just before the meeting, which, wasn't really ideal, sorry. I noticed Rainis had suggested a different final fee just to update to the current price of Aqua. And I put in a few comments about the liquidity in Ethereum for IDEA. Chandler, this is your room. Do you want to speak to it? I know that you wouldn't have seen the comments I just left, sorry.
No, I did. I just batted
Okay.
not into them. So I did change the price for the final fee for the Aqua token. I just need to double check which one was the original or the intended Aqua token, because there was a couple on CoinMarketCap that I wasn't 100% sure which was the right one. Updated it now to reflect that. The IDEA token, IDIA token, is a incubated token by Impossible Finance. They're a BSC based. Their main source of activities on BSC, and what they have is the IDEA token on Ethereum mainnet as well. What they want to use the IDEA token for exclusively is KPI options, and they want to use these IDEA tokens to be able to distribute IDEA tokens out to the rest of their the DAOs that they're sponsoring. So this is very much intended for KPI options only, and if the IDEA token is not really meant to be liquid outside of BSC at the moment, and if they do start wanting to trade these tokens past the past it just being on Ethereum, then you should bridge the tokens back to BSC at all points. So ultimately, these contracts that will use this token will always be unliquidatable contracts, and there would be no need for a source of liquidity for them.
Oh, I suppose it's not just that it's no liquidity, it's that there are actually no tokens in that contract.
Yeah, and this was discussed with them originally, and they have minting privileges of that contract. So whenever they want to create a new bunch of tokens, they'll mint the tokens specifically for use in our contract.
Okay. Is it worth putting forward some more mentions of this and the rationale and the security?
Yeah,
because it does seem strange to me to approve a contract that has no tokens in it.
Yeah, I can put this in the security considerations. And to be clear, there are tokens, but they're just not on Ethereum.
Should we go forward and approve or put this UMIP forward to the vote?
I'm biased, so I'm going to say yes. But
yeah, but otherwise, I think it sounds good. Yeah, just maybe mentioning this particular consideration on token supply being not there yet. But
I think the concept of this should be taken in light of us moving from a whitelisting process to a blacklisting process. And under a whitelisting regime, this token would have been allowed.
Mhm.
Vari,
Okay.
besides
Cool.
besides the narrative around how the IDEA token works on BSC and how it translates to what we're using it for on Ethereum, is there anything that you feel I should add to the considerations?
Perhaps a linked bridge, but I mean, nothing specific, but I just think that it should be acknowledged
Agreed.
that this has this oddity, and a sentence addressing the particular security issues around that, given that BSC is a permissioned blockchain, that we're reliant on a bridge. You know, there are a few considerations there. I mean, I'm not saying that we shouldn't do this, given that it's for KPI options, but I do think that we should put some caveats in here in case somebody gets an idea to use it for something else, or
Yeah,
just that something goes wrong.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I'm more than happy to add extra commentary.
Cool. Excellent. The next one that we had was a contract ad, which has come from the UMA team. This was only added a few hours ago, and it's for UMA reasons and for time pressures. It was added into this round. I saw that there's been a few comments left, and I think people will continue to review this, but it does come from UMA's own engineers who do understand UMA well. Rainis, I see that you've taken a bit of a look at this. Would you like to speak to this one?
Yes, there are some minor typos, and the main thing that I just myself was not aware whether or not there's intention to deploy this also on Polygon, and whether that should also be part of the UMIP or not. But I don't have any other comments for this one.
Chandler, do you have any insight into whether it's intended to also deploy it on Polygon?
Yeah, so I think the concept, the idea of the skinny optimistic oracle will be used in multiple locations. The concept that the skinny optimistic oracle introduces is to make a cross bridging protocol extremely gas efficient, and so I don't think it should be the UMIP. I mean, it could mention it if it wants to, but I don't think it's strictly required to mention it here, because the concept of the skinny optimistic oracle will actually, its first use case would be for bridging, particularly through Optimism and Arbitrum and any other bridges that we create. So its intended use might not necessarily be for Polygon, but it will be multi-chain.
Okay, it's mostly the question on where initially the contract should be registered in the technical specification. So,
right. I'm not sure we're planning on launching it on Polygon, but I don't have a solid answer on that.
oh, okay, yeah, then I think it makes sense just to clarify it. So.
Cool. I think that one seems to be a go, just with a few issues to clarify with engineers, in particular the Polygon deployment. Are we good to go with that one?
Yes.
Cool. The final one we had was a price identifier, binary price query of is really valid. which is pull request 427. This is kind of effectively a binary option, but it's very specific to the across protocol. Brainus, again, I see that you've left some comments on it. Again, this one came in a little bit late, but we've pushed it into this cycle for time pressures. And again, it comes from the UMA engineers themselves working in conjunction with DevX.
Yes, here it seems that there's one like a major issue to clarify is regarding the scaling of valid relay data response. Is it like 1 or it's scaled to 18 decimals? And for other, there are some missing sections that just needs to be completed, like rational implementation security sections. But I don't see there should be any like major surprises there. It just needs to be finalized.
I think the engineers were actually still working on some of this, but I know they wanted the draft up in time for this call to be considered to go ahead for the vote this week. My thinking is that this is a goal with conditions that the yes scaling issue is resolved and the missing sections are completed. Does that sound reasonable?
Yes, sounds good for me.
Yeah, it sounds good for me. One thing worth noting on this call for everyone here is that even with this UMIP being added quite late, and some of the contingencies are somewhat hefty and need to be resolved, the UMA team will be working on this together in person and will resolve many of the kind of issues that come up in the documentation of the specific UMIP before the next vote.
Cool. Are people good to go ahead with that one?
I'm okay.
With the conditions that we specified. Excellent. Thanks to everyone for joining the call. Thanks especially to Hexie. And for the comments that you left in the community review. We very much appreciate them. And I won't see you all next week because next week I'll be on a flight, but I'll see you in 2 weeks' time if I don't see you before. Bye.
See you on Wednesday.
Nice.
Bye.